I can't believe that you're not alone. Happy as hell, ain't done moved on. But he's a banker down in Austin. I thought you always.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. My name's Jessica, and today we are going to be talking about just some stuff that has happened in my life, in my past. It's kind of like a story time, I guess. I'm here to spill the tea, even though I'm totally not drinking tea. So I'm just gonna get right on into this video. When I was 17, I went through quite a bit. It was a very hard year for me. I was dealing with a lot of emotion, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety that a lot of people didn't really know about. Because I like to portray myself as a strong person. I like to portray myself as somebody who really doesn't care, but really I do. I've gotten better at expressing my emotion today, now that I'm 22, but back when I was 17, I was like, no fucks given. So I was getting into a lot of fights. A lot of fights at school, a lot of fights at home. I really just didn't care. I would fight whoever, whenever. I didn't care. I didn't care if I was right. I didn't care if I was wrong. If your opinion or your statement didn't match what I thought, we're fighting. And it was the stupidest like mindset to have. I can probably say today that I really don't try to cause problems with people. If we disagree, we disagree. Okay, like it shouldn't start a big fight or a problem or an issue. That was my mindset at 17 years old, and it got me into a lot of trouble. Out of all the people I fought with, the number one person I regret fighting with was my mom. There was one time where we got into a fight, and it was over something stupid. Well, now that I look back at it, it was stupid, but at the time I thought that I was completely right for fighting with her. So after this fight, I was so mad at her, and I ran to my room, and she didn't know, but I had a secret cell phone that my boyfriend at the time paid for. So I would hide it in my dresser so she would never know about it, because if she knew about it, she could ground me and she could take it away. So I never told her about this cell phone. Mom, if you're watching this, sorry. On that cell phone, I was so mad at her, I texted my boyfriend at the time, and let's just call him Caleb. We'll call him Caleb. So Caleb texted me right before he pulled up, and he said, hey, I'm about to pull in, just so I knew to sprint out the door, because my driveway was pretty long, and I knew that if my mom heard me open up my bedroom door, she would come after me. He texted me, he said, hey, I'm about to pull in. So I ran out the room, ran down the driveway, hopped into his truck, and we drove away. We went straight to my dad's house. He lived in Montgomery, and I lived in Willis at the time. About a 15-20 minute drive. We drove to my dad's house, and told him everything that happened, told him, you know, how my mom was being crazy. My dad and my mom didn't really get along. I could have said that I walked up on my mom and decked her in the face for absolutely no reason, and my dad would still have my side. My dad, Caleb, and I drove, and we ended up at this Kroger. Basically, we had the cops there. My mom called the cops on me. Cops gave her an option to put me in jail, and my mom said no, to just bring her back home. After all was said and done, after talking to the cops, they told me basically there was nothing I could do, there was nowhere I could go, that I would have to go back with my mom. And I was terrified. My mom, if you've met my mom, she is a scary person. You don't want to get on her bad side, and you don't want to piss her off, and you don't want to make her angry, because she is scary. And I did not want to go back with my mom, but I had no choice. So I got back to the house, completely ignored her, and just walked straight to my room. By the time I laid there in bed, I realized that I forgot my cell phone. The cell phone that I hid from my mom that she didn't know about. Completely forgot that cell phone at my dad's house. The next morning, me and my brother, we stand out there and we waited for the bus for school. So we were waiting for the bus, and my boyfriend at the time, Caleb, he lived down the road. So he would drive past me every morning to go to work while I waited for the bus, and he would always, you know, tell me bye, have a good day, blah, blah, blah. So when he drove past me, he stopped real fast. I grabbed the phone, and he drove off. My mom came hauling ass out there and was like, I hid the phone like real fast in front of my pants, and she was like, he better not stop here. I mean, she was cussing, but to keep it PG, she was like, "You better not ever stop here again. I'll call the cops, blah, blah, blah." Like, it was bad. It was bad. Got my cell phone back though, so I was happy about that. Shortly after that, my dad and my mom came to a talk, an agreement. I can go live with my dad. And I packed up everything as soon as I could, and I went and I lived with my dad. And my dad lived with his mom, who is my grandma. So it was my grandma, my dad, and me living in this tiny little house. It was different. I'm 17, so it's my junior year of high school, and I missed so much school. And my dad didn't really care. You know, he didn't really enforce rules a whole bunch with me. You know, he was the fun dad, the cool dad, and he didn't really enforce all the rules that my mom did. And it wasn't really good for my education. I would skip school a lot. I would skip school to sleep in. I would skip school to hunt. And it got to the point where I skipped so much school that, you know, my dad started to realize, like, I can't be that cool, fun parent. Like, you have to go to school. And at that point, I was already skipping school so much and I was so comfortable and used to it that I didn't really care what my dad told me, because I wasn't scared of my dad. I didn't care what my dad told me. So I skipped a lot of school. I had no friends. I didn't care to have friends. I was just kind of one of those girls that was like, you know, complete RBF, complete like, don't talk to me. Like, I just didn't really care. I didn't care to make friends. I didn't care to talk to people. Also, around the same time that I was living with my dad, I was hanging out with my cousin, Jonathan, a lot. We were like best friends. He had a friend, we're gonna call him David. He had a friend, David. David, Jonathan, and I, we hung out a lot. We hung out quite a bit. If I wasn't hanging out with my boyfriend at the time, Caleb, I was hanging out with them too. My dad wasn't too fond of that because I was never home. He was going through a hard time with his wife, my stepmom. He took a lot out of me. One day, I came home and I was there before my dad. My grandma was in her room watching TV. This is gonna sound so dumb, but I drank the last Coke out of the refrigerator. And my dad came home. He went to go grab a Coke, and there was none left because I drank it. And he got really mad at me about it. This was like his breaking point. It wasn't so much the Coke as it was all of his feelings and emotions coming out at once. But the Coke was what kind of like triggered him. We got into a fight. I mean, he took the Coke out of my hand and he like sprayed it all over me, and he was yelling at me, he was cussing at me. I was yelling at him, I was cussing at him. Finally, I said, sorry, I get a little emotional. Finally, I said, I wish you weren't my dad. He looked at me and he said, well, I'm not your dad. And then he walked out of the house, got in his car, drove away. I wasn't really processing it, I guess, until I looked at my grandma, because she was in the kitchen at this point, and she looked at me with just complete, like, wow. Like, she couldn't believe he had just said that. And then she hugged me, and she said, you weren't supposed to find out this way. I realized that my dad was not my real dad. I lost it, honestly. I lost myself. I didn't know what to do. My dad left me. He wasn't talking to me. I broke up with my boyfriend Caleb just because I couldn't deal with real feelings. I never went to school anymore. I mean, there wasn't even a possibility I was at school. I was never there. I was constantly drinking. I was always in College Station, drinking my life away with people and my cousins and their friends. We had thrown a lot of parties. Nobody knew about all the depression I was going through because I never talked about it. I never put it out there that I was really that upset about it. It didn't come out that I was really hurt by it for a while. My dad ended up texting me finally. I think it was like a couple months, a month, 2 months after, I don't know. Just basically telling me like he's gonna get help, all this stuff, which by the way, he never did. And then he came back around as if nothing happened. We never talked about it. We just kind of like let it go. That hurt me a lot, to just act like everything was okay and just to act like nothing bothered me. It was a very hard time in my life. I was wilding out. I was doing my own thing. I didn't care about people. I didn't care about people's feelings. So I got arrested. I got arrested the first time for assault. Assault, family violence. I got into a fight with my grandma. I'm sure she will tell this story a different way than I will. because she makes it sound like I just beat the shit out of her, but I did not do that. That's not what happened. We did get into a fight though. So cops came, she pressed charges on me, and I went to jail at 17 years old. Being only 17 and not 18, they put me in a cell by myself most of the night. And then there was another girl that joined me for a little bit. She was also 17. I was scared. I was scared shitless. You can't talk to anybody. You don't know what time it is. I mean, I felt like I was there for a week. I was only there for not even a whole night. For like 14 hours or something like that. It was hard. My mom picked me up from jail, told me I needed to move back in with her. I did not want to do that, but I did it. She wanted me to go back to school. I didn't want to go back to school. By this time, me being in jail was spreading around like wildfire. Everybody was commenting on it, everybody was talking about it, and I did not want to go back to Willis High School where people were going to be giving me looks, where people were going to be judging me or like acting like they knew my life when they didn't have a damn clue what was going on. To me, it was just better to not go back to school. So I did. I dropped out completely. Dropped out. I'm living with my mom again. Things were okay at first, and then they just started spiraling downhill again. I had this best friend, and her name was, let's just call her Kimberly. Kimberly and me, we were best friends. We were inseparable. We did everything together. Me and this friend Kimberly, we liked to steal. This is so embarrassing to talk about now because I'm just a completely whole new different person, but yeah. We used to steal anywhere and everywhere, you name it. Anywhere, you name it, we probably stolen something from there. We would have big bags, tote bags, and we would just load it up and we would walk on out as if nothing happened. I was staying the weekend with Kimberly. We went to Walmart. We stole quite a bit. Don't let anybody try to tell you that secret shoppers aren't a thing, because they are. Secret shoppers are indeed a thing. And they got us. We were walking out of Walmart, we thought we were good, we were almost to the car. Boom, here come two secret shoppers with a police car, ready to arrest us. They took all of our stuff, they put us in handcuffs, took us back into Walmart. Everybody's staring at us, it's so embarrassing. They go through the bag of everything we stole. They total it up to be like, I can't even remember, I think it was over $300 worth of stuff, which is ridiculous because it's Walmart. We got arrested right there on the spot. They took us to jail. I was still 17. My friend Kimberly was 18. So she got to be put in a cell with a bunch of other people while I was put in a cell again by myself. Mind you, the first time I got arrested with assault, this was like a couple weeks after. So I was like arrested with assault, a couple weeks after, boom, arrested with stealing. So it was like literally back to back within the same month. Montgomery County was looking at me like I was a bad kid. And I was. Honestly, I was a bad influence, I was a bad kid. Kimberly's dad bailed us out of jail. We go back into Kimberly's dad's house. He's very, very disappointed with us. Tells me that I need to tell my mom what happened and that he wants me to start going to church with them on Sunday. So I was like, okay. I didn't want to tell my mom, but I did. I told my mom. She was very upset with me. She was very angry. She was sad. She was upset. She didn't know what went wrong with me. I was such a good kid, and then all of a sudden at 17 years old I am just all over the place. I am disrespectful. I am all these things that I shouldn't be, that my mom didn't raise me to be. I went to church with them that Sunday. I knew about God. I went to church every now and then with my grandma in Montgomery. I liked to go to church, but I didn't know God. I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't seek God. I didn't feel God. I went to church with them. And we went to this church, and it was like the pastor was talking directly to me and Kimberly. And even though me and Kimberly, we aren't friends now, we don't talk now, I will say that me and her family were there for me whenever, I felt like a lot of people weren't. So I will always be grateful for that. I was like the pastor was talking right to us. He said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I mean, that completely took me away. I had a lot of problems from then on out, finding God, knowing God, understanding God. I still have those problems to this day, but that was what started my relationship. After all that, moved back in with my dad. This time, him and my stepmom were working things out, so he didn't live with my grandma anymore. He lived back with my stepmom. So it was a whole new house. At this point, I had moved 3 times. Well, I got another boyfriend who happened to be David, my cousin Jonathan's best friend. Honestly, I was just waiting for August to come around because that was when me and my boyfriend at the time, David, were able to move into our new apartment. And about a week, 2 weeks after living with him, he broke up with me. I mean, it just got to a point where we were pushing our relationship. It just wasn't working for us, so we broke up. I moved back out of the apartment, back into my dad's house. So at this point of my life, I'm still 17, and I've moved 5 times. 5 times. And this is like within a matter of just a few months. I was kind of all over the place. I turned 18, and shortly after that, me and my dad started getting into more fights, just about work, about school, about my life. What was I doing with it? I had no idea. I had no drive to do anything. I still didn't even have my GED. I was working at a sports bar in Willis, a little wing place off of 297 that didn't pay me very good at all. I was blowing all my money every weekend on alcohol and parties, and if it wasn't going to alcohol and parties, it was going to probation. I was on probation for a year. Then after me and my dad got into it and stuff, I moved back in with my mom, and I don't think we left on a bad note at all. I would say after a few months of living with her, I decided to take a leap of faith and move in with my husband after only being officially together for like 3 days. And I've been with him ever since. He helped me with a lot of my problems. He helped me through a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know and a lot of people don't realize. But I was very depressed. I had high anxiety. I was a kid who didn't know anything about life. And PJ was my person who helped me through everything. He still helps me through everything. I still have moments where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And he is really my rock. I had a rough time when I was 17. I got arrested twice in the same month. And I failed to mention, I was on probation for a year. My last day of probation, my probation officer hated me for some reason. I don't know why. I was always so nice to her. And after being on probation for a year, my last day of probation, I walked in there and she asked me for some certificate that I didn't have on me at the time. I did it. I did all the stuff I was supposed to do on probation. And she was like, okay, so since you don't have it with you, this nice gentleman is going to take you to jail. And I turned around and shit you not, here comes a freaking cop and he arrests me. I was like, what? I was so mad. I was so mad. I was yelling at the probation officer. I was yelling at the cop. I was like, I'm getting arrested for no reason here. I was like, well, at least let me call my boyfriend at the time, PJ. He was like, fine, you can call him. I called him like 5 times. PJ did not answer the phone. Nobody had no idea I was getting arrested. So I was freaking out. I sent him a text. I was like, I'm getting arrested and this is not a drill. It was crazy. But he bailed me out of jail. I went to court for it. I got a lawyer. I went to court for it. Everything was dropped. Everything was good. And I never been arrested since then. I don't plan on getting arrested. I'm just honestly trying to be a better person. Look back at 17-year-old Jessica and I realized that that is a person that I no longer want to be. I will say that I learned a lot, and I will say, you know, those battles made me stronger at the end of the day. It was a crazy time in my life, but yeah, that was my life when I was 17 years old, and I just thought it would be fun to let y'all get a peek into my life. There's so much other stuff that has happened to me that I want to share with y'all, and I probably will in the next few videos. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope you have learned something about me. If you were a part of my life when I was 17 and I was a bitch to you, I'm sorry. I was going through a lot. I know that's no excuse, but I didn't know any better, so I do apologize. If you were a part of my story and you helped me to the person I am today, I thank you. Even if you completely shit on me, I still thank you because you've made me a stronger person. That's all I have for you, so thanks for watching my video. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, click the bell for notifications every time I post a new video. Stay tuned for future videos, and bye. Why is my hand wet? That's weird.
I can't believe that you're not alone. Happy as hell, ain't done moved on.